Our next episode is called Allegiance, and it's episode number 66 of Star Trek The Next Generation, and it originally aired on March 24th, 1990, and was written by Hans Beimler and Richard Manning, and directed by Winrich Kolbe. Now, plot-wise with this episode, after a mission to alleviate an outbreak of a deadly plague, Picard relaxes in his quarters, and as he's napping, a large rectangular slab appears and scans him. And Picard then disappears and is replaced by a replica. Now, moments later, Picard wakes up in a room with 4 beds, and 2 of the other beds are occupied. One by a first cadet at Starfleet Academy, the other by a bureaucrat of a small world that continually bows to conquerors, and soon the 4th captive arrives, who is a beast-like humanoid from the Chalnoth race. Now, the group soon discovers that the new arrival cannot eat the provided food, so he indicates that the bureaucrat would make a nice meal. Now, Picard, the beast man, and the cadet try to open the door of their cell, and after a stun ray inflicts them with pain, they argue among themselves and wonder if someone in the room is one of their captors. Now, the cadet stands up for Picard and recounts his work with the Mintakans, and when Picard adds the recent mission to alleviate the plague to his list of accomplishments, the cadet concurs. Now, at this point, Picard reveals the identity of one of the captors, and it is the cadet. She could not have known about the mission the Enterprise had just completed, and suddenly the cadet disappears and is replaced by 3 aliens. Now, once Picard discovered the identity, they could not continue the research on authority, so they return everyone to their places of origin, and shortly after Picard materializes on the bridge of the Enterprise with his alien escort, his replica, who is already relieved of duty by Commander Riker because of his strange behavior, transforms into an alien as well. Now, as Picard berates the aliens for kidnapping and imprisoning him, he signals the crew, and Worf imprisons them in a force field. Now, he does this to give them basically a taste of their own medicine, and the aliens plead for their release. So Picard grants their request and then tells them to get off his ship. And that is the end of the episode. Now, aside from the one room in which the 4 captors were incarcerated, this is really another ship show. And just like The Offspring, Allegiance is one where Michael Piller even admits that they needed to save some money on because of how much they had spent on yesterday's Enterprise. And this one actually is done really well. And director Winrich Kolbe even admitted that this is one of his favorite episodes that he actually did, because he thinks that stylistically they did some interesting things in the lit room where the 4 people were incarcerated, and he also knew it was a Patrick Stewart episode, and whenever he does a Patrick Stewart episode, he knows it's going to be a good one because he does so many great things. And you really do get to see a lot of great things here that Patrick Stewart does. We haven't seen Picard really on the holodeck at all in the 3rd season yet, so they wanted to do an episode where Picard gets to have fun and Patrick Stewart, the actor, gets to have fun too. And you get to see a side of Picard that you don't anywhere else, because the other side of this episode, while the real Picard is trying to escape the room with the other captors, the duplicate is now aboard the Enterprise and taking over, and he's a little bit too almost unsure of himself and trying to make sure that everyone has confidence in him at the beginning. He starts behaving really oddly, like attending a poker night for the first time, which he had never done. He invites Beverly Crusher to his quarters, which he had never done up to that point. He goes in for his physical 1 month early, and to top it off, which I think is the funniest, he enters 10 forward, and after praising Lieutenant LaForge on his work, he gives everyone ales in 10 forward, and starts basically leading a drinking song, which I think is pretty funny. So that was a really hilarious part of the episode, and something that I think was pretty memorable. In fact, you see Picard's toast, where he says, "Here's to the finest crew in Starfleet," at the beginning of what was put together called the Picard song. If you've never heard the song before, type it up in YouTube, the Picard song, and it's one of the funniest things that I've ever seen on the internet, really. And it was made by a fan, too, so great job whoever created that originally. Now, I also saw, according to Wikipedia at least, that Allegiance was nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Achievement in Makeup for a Series. And there were several aliens, of course, in this episode. The cadet, and, of course, the aliens who were studying not Patrick Stewart, but Picard, for leadership. So, good job again with them. And yeah, I really don't have anything bad to say about this episode. You do see, in addition to some humorous things about Picard, you see what probably was in the actual Picard's mind, but just was never acted out. Because, of course, not only did the aliens have access to what he looked like, but they had access to his memories, too. So, although the real Picard never asked Beverly Crusher to his quarters, he probably had this in his mind, so he was able to do that. And ironically, later in the series, they do start getting together in his quarters, so that kind of proves what was originally cooked up with this episode, too. So, interesting stuff here. Comment below to tell me what you guys think of this. I really enjoyed it and thought it's kind of like a hidden gem in Season 3. I don't think a lot of people talk about Allegiance too much, but I really liked it. Thanks, guys. And, also comment below if you guys know what is the official name for the song that Picard sings while he's in 10 Forward. I looked it up once, but I don't remember the title. I think it is some kind of naval song from Britain, which is kind of odd because Picard's supposed to be French, but Patrick Stewart is British. So if you can think of the name of that song, comment below and let me know. That would be great. Thanks, guys.